I should have listened. All the concerns, the suggestions, the advice. Maybe I wouldn't be in this mess right now. I had the opportunity to let things be, to leave good enough alone, to not involve anyone else. But I didn't listen, and I am in a mess. A considerably nastier and more confusing mess. Now, what point had I got up to? That's right. Knock, knock, knock. I stood still. Knock, knock, knock. Not still. Shaking. Was it a soft, sinister knock? Or a loud, aggressive one? I didn't know. I'm surprised I heard it at all over my chattering teeth and the pounding in my chest, the blood rushing through my ears. Doesn't matter. It was a bad knock. Knock, knock, knock. I couldn't think. Mind and body petrified. Who is it? I managed, pitifully. The knocking stopped. Instantly. Silence. I began to edge towards the door, slowly and quietly, despite the fact I had just announced my presence. They knew I was inside. Passing my kitchen, I thought about getting a weapon. A knife, a rolling pin, my fucking blender. That was pretty heavy. It had a handle, too. I kept creeping towards the door. Ever so gently, I put my hands on either side of it and leant in, pressing my ear against the wood. A pause. I couldn't hear anything. Had I scared them off? I'm not sure how long I waited like this. A few seconds, a few minutes, an hour. I got down on my knees and peered under the crack of the door. This didn't help. With one hand on the doorknob, I pulled myself back to my feet. I hesitated, then twisted the knob and flung the door open. An empty hallway. No one was there. I waited in the threshold for a moment, almost as if I was teasing, saying, "Go on, try me now, have a pop." As I was about to go back into my apartment, I had a thought. Should I ask my neighbors if they had heard anything? There were 3 other apartments on my floor. Surely one of them must have heard the knocking, no? But it was quite late at night, and if they hadn't heard anything, then I'd be doing to them what had just been done to me. I looked despairingly at the closest door to me. Apartment 156. Wait a minute. 156. I checked my door. 115. I was apartment 115. Moving out from my doorway, into the middle of the hallway, I checked the other 2 apartments. Apartment 153. Apartment 154. 4 apartments on a floor. 153. 154. 115. 156. What the fuck? And what was that noise? It sounded like breathing. Shaking again, I tiptoed over to the stairwell. I looked down. A hand. On the railing. 3 floors below me. It wasn't moving. It was a left hand, indicating that its owner had been going downstairs before they stopped. Had they heard me? Despite my stealth up to and after, I hadn't exactly been discreet when I opened my door. I waited. The hand disappeared. I waited. The other hand gripped the railing. They had turned around and were coming up the stairs. Fast. I was paralyzed with fear again. The person was running. No, sprinting up the stairs. I could hear them. They were breathing hard, their pants rustling, feet stomping. 2 floors away now. Going up, up, up. Closer, closer, closer. I snapped out of it, ran back into my apartment and slammed the door. The deadbolt locked, but if the person was who I suspected, that wouldn't stop them. They would be on the floor below me by now. Seconds before they were at my door, through my door, into my apartment, upon me. I looked around. How could I? There. I ran to my kitchen and grabbed a collapsible steel ladder from the slot next to my fridge. For a fleeting moment, I considered trying to wield it as a weapon, like they do with chairs in pro wrestling, but it was too awkward, too slow. They were off the stairwell now, on my floor. I could hear them, almost here. Flying to my front door, I shoved the ladder under the knob. To give it some additional weight, I tipped the only thing nearby, my shoe rack, over the legs of the ladder, holding them together so it didn't dislodge. The door jostled inwards a fraction. My pursuer must have thrown themselves hard at it, but to my immense relief, my impromptu brace held. I ran back to the kitchen, yanked the blender from the wall outlet, turned back to face the front door. Heavy breathing on the other side. I raised the blender, ready to attack, to club, to bash, to fight. A stalemate. Knock, knock, knock. Nope. No fucking way. Go away! I'm calling the police! It was a spontaneous response. I had just meant it as a threat. I had never called the police in my life, but I realized that was precisely what I should be doing. Still holding the blender, I pulled out my phone and dialed the emergency number. No reception. The call wouldn't go through. What the hell? I thought emergency calls were supposed to work anywhere. Yes, hello, there's someone trying to get into my apartment. I faked. I loudly said my address into my empty phone. Okay, 3 minutes. Thank God. Yes, thank you. They're still here. Come quick. Yes. I'll stay on the line. I was practically shouting. I continued with this phantom conversation for a while. At a lower volume, though, because I'm sure I wasn't making any sense. I can't even remember what I said. I waited. There was no further knocking. I waited longer, pacing around my apartment, white-knuckled. They must have left. But there was no chance I was opening the front door to test that theory. I tried the emergency number again, and again. Then my friends. Nothing. No reception. Shit. What was I going to do? I wasn't going to sleep like this, no way. And I didn't trust leaving my door from sight for more than a few seconds. The internet seemed to be working. How it was working whilst phone reception is dog shit in the same spot probably has a simple explanation, but not one that tech Neanderthals like me know off the top of our heads. But it was working. That's the main thing. And I do know how to use a phone. That's the second thing. I pulled up WhatsApp and scrolled through my contacts. Gabe. Gabe is an old friend of mine from high school. He's probably the only one of my friends who would have been up at this hour, watching conspiracy videos or anime or some shit. His WhatsApp profile said he was last active 30 minutes ago. Good. I hit voice call. My phone started to connect. Calling. 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 Nothing. Bastard. I was cursing him and thinking about other options when a message popped up. Gabe. I'm gaming. What's up? I tapped into the message and immediately began typing back. Me. I need your help. Serious. Someone is trying to get into my apartment. Tried calling police, but no reception. Not a joke. Minutes added up on my phone's clock. They felt like hours. Come on, Gabe. Fuck. Finally, a notification. Gabe. Serious. You okay now? Want me to call police? Me. Yes. Please. Not okay. Gabe. Shit. Okay. We'll call. Want me to come over too? I thought about this. Couldn't hurt. Me. Yes, come over. Gabe. Okay. Feeling faintly relieved now, I sat down on the couch, loosened my grip on the blender. That was close. But police were on their way. Gabe was on his way. I listened carefully for any sounds outside. I couldn't hear anything. Tentatively, I got up and walked to the front door, leant awkwardly over my shoe rack ladder blockade, pressed my ear against the wood. Nothing. I relaxed a little and went into the kitchen. Shit, I had damaged the power outlet. That's too bad. Pouring myself a glass of water, I checked my phone, hoping for a call or message at any moment. But there was still no reception. When the police got here, they would have to buzz the intercom. If the caretaker hadn't disabled it, of course. I went through what I thought was going on. My apartment had been moved. Or, more accurately, I suppose, all my stuff had been moved. I'd unpacked and set up in the correct apartment, 115. When I was away at the conference, the caretaker had gone into it, got all my stuff, and meticulously moved it over to this apartment, which was actually apartment 155, despite the number on the door. He must have taken pictures of everything in my original apartment. And I mean everything, and exactly how I had put it all together. When I had returned, I was hoodwinked by a couple of fake signs, swap numbers on a door, and some sleight of hand with my keys. Both buildings, the third building with 115, the fourth building with fake 115 real 155, look identical from the exterior, so it wouldn't be shocking if the same floor, same corner apartments, in the two different buildings nonetheless had an identical interior design. Why did he want me in apartment 155? It was obvious now. He would come into 155, do whatever sick things he planned to do to me, as he likely had done to the missing real estate agent, Jacqueline, then move all my belongings back to my legal residence, apartment 115. In his role as the caretaker, and in his alter ego, the removalist, no one would pay him much attention moving stuff around the complex. He had already fooled me. The moving company guy had been the same height and build as the caretaker, sure, but so were a billion other men. As he had been wearing a face mask and barely spoke. Why would I even notice? Just get my stuff and put it over there. By the time my absence became suspicious and a search was conducted, all my things would be discovered, untouched, in my real apartment, as if I had just vanished. There would be no evidence of foul play, no struggle or shouts heard by a neighbor. Investigators would have no cause to search this apartment, 155. But if for some reason they did, it was dreadful to think about what state they might have found my body. The precision and painstakingness of it all would have been impressive if it wasn't scaring the shit out of me and making my head hurt. The police were dawdling. What's the response time supposed to be? Just a couple of minutes, surely, in a town this size. It's not like I'm out in the sticks. Then it hit me. I hadn't told Gabe that I had moved. We haven't been that close lately, and I was still getting around to updating everyone. He must have given them my old address. I began typing. Me. Gabe, I've moved apartments. My new address is U66 on 66 Road. I'm in the fourth building on the right, inside the complex. I'm in apartment 155, I think, but I'm supposed to be in 115. Call me when you're here. Try to buzz 155. Okay? A few minutes went by. Perhaps he was driving. Maybe he was at my old place with the police, confused. But why hadn't he called me? Wouldn't the police have called him back when they got there? I saw that Gabe was typing. Gabe. What? I sighed. I copied my previous message and sent it again, then sent another. Me. Did you go to my old place? Where are you? Gabe. Still at home. Did police come? Me. No, I'm at a new address. It's sex. You gave them my old address, right? Gabe. Yeah. Me. That's okay. My bad. Just call me when you are here. I can't come down. Gabe. Why not? Me. I'll explain later. Just get here. Gabe. Okay, I might be a while. Though me. Why? Gabe. Been up for hours, Lowell. Just give me 10 minutes to rest. Fuck's sake. Probably had been. Drinking or was high. Me. Okay, thanks. Remember, I'm at a new apartment. Let me know if you can't find it. Gabe. Okay. Want me to call police? I thought you already did. You fuck. Maybe he did. I had screwed up too. I thought about it. Perhaps that would be a bit much for Gabe. If he could just pull himself together enough to get here, then I could handle the rest. And my door was locked, blocked, and no one had knocked for some time. I messaged him back. Me. No, just come over. Gabe. Okay, all right. That was sorted. I went back to my couch and slumped down. My heart rate had settled. Getting cold now. I pulled up a pillow and a blanket, swiveled myself around so I was laying lengthways. I put the blender on the coffee table in front of me, within easy reach. I lay still for a while. My eyelids began to droop, but my ears were fully alert, listening out for anything. The cunning caretaker back at the door. The buzz of the intercom signaling that Gabe had arrived. He was taking his time. How long had it been? Oh, my phone is over there. Oh well, doesn't matter. He'll be here soon. Focus. Keep listening. What's that? Nothing. Good. Quiet. I fell asleep. It was bright when I woke up. I hadn't shut the blinds, and the morning sun warmed my face and arms as I stirred, still sprawled out on the couch. I checked my phone. No messages. Gabe had probably fallen asleep as well, or passed out. Useless chump. But I was okay. I had made it through the night. It's always scarier at night. Still, I had been through quite an ordeal. I stood up and stretched, then picked up the blender. I walked over to my front door, cleared away the shoe rack, pried the steel ladder from under the knob. It was jammed in quite tight. Slowly, blender held like a club in my hand. I opened the door. An empty hallway. No one was around. I exhaled. As I was turning back, I saw it. The number. On my door. 155. Mother. Fucker. He had changed it. The caretaker had changed it. Back to its original number. What it was supposed to be. Last night, whilst I waited for the police, waited for Gabe, whilst I slept. He had been back. Had he tried to get in? Made one last attempt? I hadn't heard anything. Shit. Was he still around? I wasn't going to wait for him, if he was, or rely on anyone else. Still holding the blender, making sure my phone was in my pocket, I went down the stairs and out of the apartment building. When I reached the main courtyard of the complex, I took out my phone. The bars were full. I called the police. A police car pulled up out the front about 5 minutes later. Response time was good. If there's nothing urgent to respond to, I guess. I met the officers at the front security gate and detailed my torturous night. The officers listened, alternating between looking simply lost and perplexed to looking at me in pity and concern. I probably seemed like a nutter. I'd just woken up, rambling on about this apartment and that apartment, blender in hand. Nutter. I didn't care. I went through it again. I was making sense. They followed me to the fourth building on the right, the one that I had been in that night. On our way, I saw that the caretaker had removed the incorrect, shabby A4 signs that he had tricked me with the day before, and now the properly printed apartment indicators were visible. At the entrance to the fourth building, apartments 141, 160. Motherfucker. I explained this to the officers, and they nodded at me, like a parent would to a child recounting an adventure with Dora the Explorer. In my apartment, well, not my apartment, but the one I had been in, I showed them the black bag, with the rope, the duct tape, the bottles full of chemicals. I went over again what had happened, the knocking on the door, the chase up the stairs, how I thought that Jacqueline had been killed here. Look at the plug hole, you see? Don't you remember? The missing real estate woman? You'll have to check it out. Call the murder squad, missing persons unit. Run tests or something. She was in this apartment. I know it. The way they kept looking at me. They must have been close to calling for a psych eval. Frustrated, I went over to my living room table and rifled through the mess of papers. I held one up to them. See. Apartment 115. I'm supposed to be in 115. I should have seen it coming. The officers glanced at one another, and then relief spread across their faces. So, you're just in the wrong apartment? I wanted to scream. Yes, I'm in the wrong apartment. But what about all the other fucked up shit I just told you? It clearly didn't bother them. They took the bag, said they would pass it on to the detectives investigating Jacqueline's case. Am I okay? Did I need them to call anyone? I called you, you morons. Why aren't you taking me seriously? No, no one else heard or saw anything. No, I didn't get a good look at him last night. No, I don't know this complex very well. It was pointless. Ultimately, they did the whole Sherlock Holmes routine around apartment 155 for a bit longer, then left, saying to call if he comes back or if you find anything else. I was on my own again, but not for long. I went back down into the courtyard, constantly scanning to see if the caretaker was sulking about. He wasn't. I called my real estate agent. The agent, like the cops, was bewildered. But to his credit, he listened without interrupting too much and told me that this had happened before with some previous clients. Whether that was true or not, I have no clue, nor do I care. In any case, he knew I was quite distressed, as he said he would be right over. Or perhaps it was because I may or may not have vaguely threatened to cancel my contract and trash him and the property manager for showing the wrong apartment, even though I knew they hadn't. It wasn't much of a wait until they both showed up. The property manager assured the agent that he had presented the right apartment, that we had gone into the third building on the right, where apartment 115 was located. My true apartment. They came up with me to 155. Whilst they wandered around with no real purpose, I went over my misgivings regarding the caretaker. The agent shook his head. He had worked closely with Jacqueline and was obviously very familiar with the case. He told me that police had investigated the caretaker as he worked at her last expected location. They had questioned him, searched his residence, cross-checked his activities that day, but that he had been cleared. He was not a suspect at all. That couldn't be right. Someone had missed something. Why wasn't anyone even willing to entertain the possibility? Did I need to show them the bag? The murder kit? Oh, that's right. The police took it. The agent and the property manager must have thought I was just a dunce and had moved into the wrong apartment. Maybe I got the wrong key. The numbers were similar after all. The complex has a lot of apartments. It's an easy mistake. They delicately avoided mentioning how I got the wrong key or whose mistake that could have been. In the end, possibly because they were worried about me trying to call the owner or leaving a one-star review of the agency, they said they would help me move all my stuff into the correct apartment. The agent went down to the office, explained the situation to the weekend caretaker, a different guy to the one that I strongly suspected was behind all this, and swapped the keys over. I put both the main and the spare on my keychain and asked if there were any others. He told me there wasn't. Not good enough. I said that I wanted another lock on my door. A big, heavy-duty, solid-as-fuck lock. The agent waffled on about having to ask the owners. He would have to get back to me, blah, blah, blah. Fine. Get back to me. It took us most of the afternoon to move all my stuff across to apartment 115. Every time I saw the weekend caretaker, I stopped and gave him a good hard look. Sometimes he smiled, probably thought I was checking him out. He was decent looking, but I didn't care. There was no disguise, no mask, no fooling me twice. It was definitely a different man. I wouldn't say I slept easy that night, waking up a lot more than normal, but as I received no more knocks on my new door, I began to relax the following morning. Perhaps there was an innocent explanation for Friday night. After all, I had been in the wrong apartment. Maybe whoever had tried to get in, though their actions and motives were still very suspect, had thought I was someone else. Not my problem. I needed to stop fixating on it and move on. I went for a run this afternoon. Runs are good to clear your head. I thought about how I was going to update everyone. Would say that whilst I had a few initial troubles, I was finally settled in. Okay. Then I saw it. Behind my apartment complex. Not at the main entrance where I had exited to begin my run, but a quieter street behind the buildings that was usually filled with work trucks and construction equipment. A car. A big, boxy, brown paint peeling off it, Volvo wagon. I recognized it instantly. Gabe's car. It's parked outside my apartment.